couple of weeks ago, Nick Lowles from Hope Not Hate was on Political Joe. I've only just got round to making this video about it. To start with, he went on condemning Elon Musk for what he said at the Tommy Robinson protest. I thought, to put it in perspective, I'd just like to compare that to how they start off their podcast that they used to have on Hope Not Hate.
And because of the way that algorithms work, you have to be more confrontational, you have to be more aggressive. But there's one point I would like to make as well, is that Elon Musk's narrative on Saturday, his speech, which was basically about conflict is coming. Mm-hmm. This is something we're seeing regularly now on the far right. Civil war is coming.
This is a message to the reasonable center, the people who ordinarily wouldn't get involved in politics, who just want to live their lives. They don't want. They're quiet. They just go about their business. My message is to them: if this continues, that violence is going to come to you. You will have no choice. You're in a fundamental situation here where whether you choose violence or not, violence is coming to you. You either fight back or you die. You either fight back or you die.
This is one of the things that the 43 group is known by and should be known in the future, that you do not wait to be attacked. You take the fight of the enemy and attack those before they attack you.
As you can see, the violent 43 group, who Hope Not Hate name their podcast after and play at the beginning of each episode, although they haven't done an episode for about a year, is calling for violence a lot worse than Elon Musk was. In fact, Elon Musk wasn't even calling for violence, he was just asking people to be prepared for it, whereas Hope Not Hate's podcast is asking people to, or promoting committing violence first. Here's another clip from the same interview. I'll speak about it afterwards.
Looking at the headlines, looking at social media in particular, it'd be easy to think that immigration is the only thing people care about. Mm-hmm. You look at polling, that isn't the case. You know, there's cost of living, there's the NHS, there's the environment, there's all these other things that are major issues for people. And also this feeling that Britain's going down, politicians lie to them continually, all these factors. And in a sense, most British people don't want people to cheat the system, but they want the system to be fair. And they want it to be welcoming. And the majority of British people see the benefits of immigration. And actually what we need is our politicians or political parties to step back, to ignore all the noise on social media and say, we're going to do the right thing for this country. You know, we're an aging population. It's like how we're going to pay our pensions, how we're going to get people in certain occupations that, white British people or British people don't want to do. We need to have an honest conversation, but it's got to be in the totality. And the problem is we just seem to have this habitual conversation about stopping the boats, smashing the gangs or whatever. And actually, the British people want someone to be honest with them and have an honest conversation.
Immigration is a major factor in causing the cost of living problem. It pushes wages down and it pushes property prices up. The NHS is struggling under the burden of immigration. We've got doctors and nurses who speak poor English or are trained to a lower standard than our doctors and nurses. We've got blacks that are 10 times more likely to have mental health problems than white people. There's all sorts of diseases like sickle cell and stuff like that. And among the Pakistani community, first cousin marriages are causing birth defects. The NHS is struggling from immigration. The environment, again, this comes down to immigration as well. There's more than enough houses for the indigenous British people, but Labour want to, as Steve Reed puts it, build, baby, build, in order to concrete over the green belt, knock down factories and places where people should be employed to build housing for the immigrants. Immigration causes a lot of problems with the environment.
We'll back the builders by streamlining planning rules so local people have a voice, but we can get spades in the ground much faster. So we'll start building homes in at least 3 Newtown locations before the next general election. And that's how we'll build 1.5 million new homes in the lifetime of this Parliament.
People are sick about politicians lying, and one of the major factors that the politicians are lying about is immigration. The high levels of crime caused by asylum seekers and blacks and Muslims. are one of the main things that politicians tend to lie about. People don't generally support immigration. People are absolutely terrified of being called racist. That's why people speak kindly about immigration, a lot more kindly than they probably think. One of the reasons we've got an ageing population is because for over a generation, people can't afford to buy or rent more than a 2 or 3 bedroom house. People are having smaller families because they haven't got the room in their house and will receive virtually no help if they work, or if they work in a reasonable job in bringing up their kids. So that's why people are having less children. If they're worried about how they're going to pay the pensions, just look at the billions of pounds we're spending in foreign aid, the billions of pounds we're spending on asylum seekers and translators and things like that, and building more houses. All that money could simply just pay for the pensions. It wouldn't be a big deal. When he speaks about jobs that white people don't want to do, he's generally speaking about jobs that are underpaid. There's a lot of jobs where people should be earning a lot more money for doing them. And we need to get rid of the immigrants. We need to stop letting immigrants in order to push up those wages.
The number one issue of British people that they're most angry about is actually sewage in the water. You know, they see these companies making huge profits and siphoning off money and offshore accounts. There is literally shit in the water, and they can't understand why they can't do anything about it. You know, and to have what would be a populist campaign against these water companies saying, you will clear it up or we'll put you in prison. You'll get massive support.
The main reason, probably the only reason, why there's overflowing sewage going into the waterways is immigration. Well, it's overpopulation caused by immigration. There's more people flushing their toilets. There's more areas of natural soak away that are getting built over. And so there's basically more water going into a sewage system that was designed for a much smaller population in much less concreted over environments. There's more excrement going into the sewage system, therefore the sewage system can't cope. And they either have to open up valves to let that go into the waterways, which obviously isn't ideal. The other way of dealing with it would be to shut off sewage so that basically thousands or tens or hundreds of thousands of people's houses have backed up sewage and excrement coming out of their toilets in their homes. The water companies are actually spending, out of our money, billions of pounds enlarging the infrastructure. They've just put a new super sewer along the Thames. Anyone who's visited London over the past 8 or 10 years would have most probably seen all the works going on along the embankment in London. There's lots of work being done to do it. And Nick Lowles talks about having a popular campaign to go after the water companies and jail executives. What would really happen is you'd have high profile court cases where these executives will just show loads of documented proof that the sewage system's being used a lot more than it was, and that the reason for the excrement getting pumped into the waterways is because of immigration. Nick Lowles talks about there's all these other problems facing Britain, but really the majority of them are two things. You've got greed at the top, politicians and their owners who pay for their campaigns, and immigration. And everything, or almost everything, stems down to the two of them.